Fingersmith by Sarah Waters is the very beginning and the very end of my Jay ShayAthon, which turned into 2 weeks of me just reading and not doing all the other kind of podcasts or YouTube and stuff that I'd usually fill my life with. So I'd like to start off by saying, just in case, because I'm going to have a thumbnail that's going to say spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. This is really a book that if you want to come to it the first time without knowing anything about it. And I think it's important. It actually gives you it's not the only enjoyment. This is a book that has a lot of enjoyment. It's got a lot of mood and great character stuff. But it's also got an amazing plot, which deserves to be just kind of experienced unspoiled. And so I would say wave you adieu when you get a chance. See that, or to read this book, and I'll just leave it there. And so bye. Okay, everybody else is gone. Holy crap! So set in Victorian times. It opens with Sue, the humble kind of, one of the band of thieves at Oliver Twist play, and it's that is a good indication of what's to come, because this is one of the definitely a book of major plot twists. I was thinking Wilkie Collins actually more than Dickens. For some reason, I don't think of Dickens as great plot twisty kind of stuff. Maybe he's more literary. This book is quite literary, but it's also just got kind of that thriller. It's a thriller, sensation novel kind of feel to it, where Sue thinks that, we're going out to the country to trick poor Maud Lily into marrying gentleman who's been kind of who's apparently found this interesting this eccentric old uncle in the bookish uncle in the countryside who's got this plum virginal, naive young charge niece that who's on the hook for a ton of money, and if you can marry her, you can get all her money, and even better, you marry her, and then you get her declared insane, and you can just walk off with all of her money, which is how it is presented to Sue. But of course, as we go along in the novel, we find out there is a counter plot. Even while Sue falls in love with Maud, and Maud seems to fall in love with Sue, they get to the end of the Sue section of this book, and suddenly, they all think that Sue is Maud, and Maud is Sue, and Sue ends up getting sent away to the madhouse, to the it's not Bedlam, because Bedlam was an actual historical place, but basically, yes, a private place where you shove all the inconvenient women, whether they're mentally ill or just, driven crazy by this, dystopian society. Because I think this book is really good at showing how, guess what? The past, if you're a woman, was a dystopian society. This is your property. You are completely circumscribed in your thing. I mean, and being a poor woman is bad enough, and but also being a rich woman is also, you're in equal danger of just getting shut away in a madhouse. And indeed, I think I talked about in some of my update videos that, I think I get this because, this is such a familiar plot of, yes, the woman gets declared insane by some nefarious means. However, then, as I can feel, as I felt like, I get this. You get the next twist, which is, that, Maud actually does love Lily. Just she isn't interested in Sue. That the doddering old uncle, who seems like mean, but he's being mean to Sue, and she's like, lower class more, is a guy who is like obsessed with the pornography of the age, and is making this gigantic multi-volume work, as the Victorian gentlemen were liable to do on subjects, multi-volume work that's going to encompass it all, of basically every form of basically male gaze pornography that there was, and has taken his niece, who was being raised in an asylum herself. Apparently that's where her mother died, was in yet another madhouse, was takes her in, only to train her up to basically to read porn to him and his gentleman friends. In this, oh my God, just so creepy and disgusting sort of thing of she is a trapped little trained creature in this asshole's cage, which unfortunately is a wonderful representation of this age for the majority of women. I mean, I know this is a time when you have the exceptions to the rule, which are what we kind of have a tendency to focus on, but that the time is just like abjectly trapped in the thing. And I mean, and it's actually to this novel's credit that most of the characters feel trapped, whether they feel trapped in gender, sexuality. Gentleman is obviously is a gay fellow. He's not interested in Maud or any other woman sexually. Just a social class. We have the whole thing of just like, everybody is circumscribed in their own position in the society. And I mean, as all historical novels, we're talking about that era, but we're also talking about the obsessions of our own era, I think. And so then past all that, we get to the next twist. Well, the next, that change of the thing of where we find out that, actually what has happened is that the Lily, the original matriarch Lily, burst into Miss Suckby's, she being, because we've all read this book, she being the head of the den of thieves that Sue is raised in. She rushed into this house on Lance Street, and saying like, my husband and my brother are after me, and I've got my baby daughter here, and I don't want her to be raised in this. And Miss Suckby, who is a farmer of children, she raises children up for various purposes. This is another commodity: babies, infants. They switch the babies so that Sue, in an ironic twist, actually is indeed Maud Lily. And so in some ways it's like when she gets imprisoned as Maud Lily in the madhouse, it's got a sick sort of irony to it, which you can only think that Miss Suckby knows, and just kind of the depths of that calculation. And indeed, as we go along, we find out that that gentleman, who'd been portrayed as a fallen kind of upper class guy, was never ever an upper class guy. And you wonder, did Miss Suckby actually train him up and then send him off to the uncle, because this was her plan? Was indeed when the mother comes to Miss Suckby and gives her, it's like, please take my child. They swap. She writes up a will saying, this child will get half and this child will get half of the thing. But Miss Suckby wants it all. Miss Suckby wants it all. And yeah, so you get that. And it's one of these, it's one of these things where, I think the thing I really like about this book is that I was part of the way through, I was going like, okay, there's a twist. And it's like, I was like really enjoying the characters. And sometimes when you have twists, when you have plot, it takes away from the characters. It sucks. It drains away their volition. But when we get to like the second twist, and it's like the characters are going like, well, who am I anyways? Like, what the hell? I thought I was one person in this society. I thought this was my identity, and it's been completely shattered. Because indeed, the big thing with like Victorian novels is the idea that people are very invested in like their birth. Like if I have noble blood, that means even if I've been raised in poverty, I will have a gentle spirit, and I will a gentlemanly or ladylike spirit. And indeed, I think they have Oliver Twist as at the beginning of the book, and that there's the idea of him. He's a very genteel guy, even though he's been raised with all these ragamuffins. Why doesn't he have the same kind of thing? It's blood. And this book really puts paid to that. This of that idea. So yeah, this is the characters in this book feed into these plot twists. They comment on each other. I went through a little bit of this book going, when I got to the end, it's like, wow, I really love like the kind of the love story between Sue and Maud, and just like, you know, how they had all this bred in, you know, just by the situation, mistrust of each other, because they both knew, even while they were falling in love with each other, that they were either betraying this person on Sue's part, or that for Maud, that, this person is betraying me, yet they seem so genuine. And I feel this love for them that kind of bursts outside of the realms of this society's accepted things of two women loving each other isn't something that's accepted. And I mean, you've also got the whole thing of the criminal element being outside of this society. But in some ways, the criminal element, I would argue, is actually much more of an accepted part of the society. Being a criminal is still something that's not outside of bounds. It's an accepted within bounds, out of bounds, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I was thinking like, well, does their love need to be in this book? And I thought like, yeah, and if their love wasn't in this book would be all materialism. This book would all be about self-interest in a way. And it's, you know, they're the core. There's a kind of a core comment there of they still love each other. I mean, they also sort of show the power of the society of how it warps and melds and molds people's behaviors, that they can love each other but still horribly betray each other. Sue goes along with the plot thinking she's putting her into a madhouse. Maud goes along with the plot even though she feels love, and though it's love and betrayal. And there's also that thing of gentlemen playing them off each other, that male in the middle, messing around with them, exploiting their weaknesses against each other so that these two women can't unite. So yeah, I think that love needs to be there. Also, it is just self-interest. I mean, with the exception of, it's interesting, you have characters of Charles, the houseboy. He falls in love with gentlemen, and Sue is able to sort of exploit him because, you know, she's got to use her tools, exploit him to get out of the madhouse, to get to the get back to Lant Street, to Maud, to Miss Suckby, to enact to get her freedom, to get her revenge and stuff like that. But Charles actually does come across as like a character that actually had genuine love, maybe foolish love for gentlemen. And the other character, even more so, is Dainty, who is another girl at the house, and she nurses Sue back to health, and is there for her in a very kind of in a way that makes me think she's almost one of the heroes of this book, a very small character, but maybe I want her to be a hero because I want some of that part of human nature to still be there, and that this book gives me that kind of that straw. And indeed, just because this is complete spoiler thing, I can talk about this freely. It's just at the end of the book that these two women get together. Like, there was a part of me that was like, oh, this book's got to be tough. This book's got to be strong. And it's like, yeah, they can't get together because that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't be real. But that this book lets these two women be together at the end, that it doesn't just shut that off, and that you have Maud saying, I'm instead of becoming, someone who you could say being horribly traumatized by how she's been raised and being like, I'm going to push away anything of eroticism, of sexuality, she's saying, no, I'm gonna write myself into that. I'm gonna write my way into that in a way that's going to be positive, and that's going to allow Sue, who also does not recoil from finding out the truth, that how exploited, that how much someone might consider Maud damaged goods, which would be really sad and limiting. That they're allowed this ending of hope, which we're talking about now, and historical novels are always talking about now. That's my firm belief, with the reflection, the bouncing off of the historicism, while at the same time, really, I feel like it feels like, without the fussiness of Victorian language, of sort of a Dickens kind of gnarly sentence and cloddedness, it's able to really evoke the mood of a great Victorian book. Yeah, wow. I'm gonna go. I'm very interested to go and see what the Korean adaptation of this was, and also just the more. I think it's the BBC did a kind of a series adaptation. Be interested to see, but like, you know, obviously we've done the book first. We're smart that way. So thank you, Jason, over at Old Blues Chapters and Verse. I think I actually picked this book up while I was in Portland at a thrift store for $2, which is damn cheap for 2 weeks of entertainment and enlightenment. And that is officially the end of BookTube. Not BookTube. It's only the beginning of BookTube. It's the end of the Jay ShayAthon for this year. I guess I'll have to see. I may have just put myself into a yearly cycle there. So yes, long live hippie shake tube, as Steve Donahue has called it. Mine will probably be more hippier than most, and Steve can roll his eyes at my dilettantism, and more videos later, many more videos later. But yes, Fingersmith. I won't tell you to read it because, of course, you've read it. You wouldn't have watched this. This would have completely. Well, I don't know if it would have spoiled you, but we won't know because you won't have watched this unless you've actually read it. So I expect that Jason will be watching this, and I hope you enjoyed this, Jason, because it's probably just for you. Talk to you later, Jason. Bye.